Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and we have today guests, two professors. Ken Regan, welcome to the show, and Dan Fleetwood, welcome to the show as well. Always my pleasure to have you. Ken, could you please let us know about this article by Larry Kaufman in Chess Life?
Yes, well, it's going to be a lead-in to before we get to Carlsen and Firouzja. I'm going to talk about this also with a nod to Dan and correspondence chess. So Larry Kaufman goes over modern neural engines and how they are much more accurate in their evaluations, which is something I have yet to see whether they're more human predictable, but basically makes the point that nowadays, if your opening choice as black gives you a disadvantage of more than half a pawn, and especially if it's like 7/10 of a pawn, you may be objectively losing. Okay. And for that reason, openings such as the modern defense, he says, is being recognized, are going out of favor in classical play. But that's not the case in Dubai, which was co-won by Aravind Chidambaram, who counts as an old prodigy. Okay, he's actually born in 1999, so he doesn't even qualify for my pandemic lag adjustments. So, I mean, he was meteoric about 10 years ago, but now has leveled off maybe at 2670, but he had success in Dubai, winning with black against Alexander Donchenko in the last round, while Niemann, playing on board one, drew. So that drew with Aditya Mittal, a younger prodigy, and that led to Niemann finishing a half point out. Okay, so point is that in the go-to game, when you want to win as black, Chidambaram selected the 1g6 move. Okay, and this game really has some great moves toward the end. Okay, so now, by the way, black is following classical principles. Always develop your bishops before your knights. No, I should have said the opposite, as white did. And there is a moment here when white may have been able to lay claim to a significant advantage. This, of course, is Stockfish 16, which is a neural engine, but not as advanced, staying under the Kaufman half a pawn line. Okay, but at any rate, so at this point, black is actually doing well. So humanly, this is an interesting position for me. Over the board, I think I'm under real pressure as black. I'm the two bishops down. I don't really have any targets. E5 is not a settled square for my knight. My D and C pawns are hanging pawns. Okay, the C is not on an open file, but they're both under pressure. Yeah. So I'm a little surprised that the engine shows this as minus 0.13 for black. So from your correspondence eye, Dan, what do you think of this?
Well, so let's go back. So Kaufman's oversimplifying with 0.7, right? Because it very much depends on the evolution. There are moves that you can play, let's say, as early as move 2 that can guarantee you equality with best play. For example, the Petrov's defense and the Queen's Gambit, accepted. So that's well known in correspondence. There are also lines in correspondence that are well known where the engine will show a significant advantage for white for 5 to 15 moves, and then it's known that the engine evaluation will decay with best play. And so examples of this are the Sveshnikov variation of the Sicilian, in which there are lines where engines can get up above a pawn advantage because of the absolute bind that white gets on d5. But as it turns out, the dynamic activity for black's pieces equalizes in all known lines. There are also lines of the King's Indian that are lost for black with best play, but there are some lines with evaluations initially 0.6, 0.7 or so where black can actually hold. I wouldn't personally play one G6 in correspondence play, but I wouldn't say that it's refuted just because the engine gives like 0.7 or so around move 5 to 8. So I think that that's one of those variations where the let's say it's uncertain whether black is lost or let's say fighting for two possible outcomes, loss or draw. The Benoni is another case where there are only a couple lines with black that allow equality. Everything else pretty much loses by force. So in this position, if I were black here, I would be probably carrying my analysis. Let's say 60 to 80 ply deep before I believed anything.
Wow. 30 moves ahead. Wow. In main lines. Wow. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's pruning that occurs, right? So,
right.
But so you and in an open position like this, maybe you can trust the pruning more than in a locked position.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, over the board, I actually prefer black here.
Okay, so why?
Just over the board, I think that black's position is easier to play.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I guess.
Well, that's what makes chess a game, right? I mean, you may prefer white. I may play black. It's like in the parlance of finance, we have a market.
Yep, you have a market, and black skyrocketing stock is going to be the E file. So white goes for the softening, but it is really indicative that this is a mistake. That now black actually does have a very solid center. So the D pawn restricts what's going on with the pieces. So anyway, we play chess, but the engine already sees now that, well, I actually don't think rook e6 is a mistake in practice. The engine wants black to play queen e7 and gang up on the e file that way. But this is black's strategy. Okay, so it's just a little tactically annoying that white gets knight e4 in, but white doesn't play. So white should have come into d6 right away or tried to trade off one of black's kingside knights. So queen e7, again, how can this be bad? It's part of a normal strategy, but knight c4 was knight c4 apparently begging to be played, uncovering the attack on the e4 knight. Okay, white gets into d6. Black has won a pawn, but black's position is a little bit softened up. Well, so now let's just play forward in the game. Black certainly has a dynamic position with winning chances. And this wonderful attack on the e file. How are we going to get rid of white's bishop on e3, though, as a blocker? Okay, well, we just move around. Then white helps you by playing queen f4, which I don't know why black plays the rook back. I don't know why that's not marked question mark, since white can go queen f4 again. It does. Okay, so anyway, a5. Okay, so d4 is a brilliant move marked as question mark, but this is part of the strategy. Okay, so white should just chop the pawn and allow knight f3, and maybe black has miscalculated, or maybe black gets, I don't know, black gets, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a very messy position. Okay, anyway, so white played queen g3, and now black plays d3. White reacts wrongly. Now, it's possible the players were already in time pressure, and Dubai did not have a lump sum at turn 40. So it is quite possible that the game was Allegro at this point, and I should actually be able to look it up in the clock times. But I don't want to, but black plays 3 beautiful moves. Here is one of them. Okay, so rook down because we are going to crash through with our passed pawn. Okay, so if white captures it, then black captures, and after bishop e1, just goes rook d1, and that's completely paralyzing for white. And bishop c3 eventually is going to decide this after the right preparation. So so rook e2, first brilliant move. Next brilliant move, ignoring your queen. Well, you make a new queen on c1, so maybe not that brilliant. But the really nice move is this one. Okay, now we are temporarily sacrificing the queen. Okay, but the game's also about to end. So if white captures the queen, then black just calmly takes this, and there's nothing white can do to prevent coronation on d1. And black will be a rook ahead about. So white thrashed around this way, but dropped a piece, and now other stuff is dropping off. And once black gets out of checks, the game is over. So one interesting game played there. Well, actually, clock times were showing on the board itself, so they were fairly.
Yeah, they were definitely in time pressure there. I mean, I've mentioned before that I grew up in chess playing the dragon, and so positions like this, just if white screws up, this is what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now we'll move on to the Warsaw Super Bet Rapid and Blitz, where Magnus Carlsen put on a historic power show that has to be equated with something like Bobby Fischer's streak. Between rounds 8 and 16, so 2 rounds from the previous day and 7 rounds on the final day, he defeated each of his 9 opponents once. And he topped it off by beating his presumed challenger once removed, Gukesh Domoraju. Okay, rival, a young kid. Carlsen recently said, I want to beat the young kids while I still can. And well, there were some young kids in this field, and Carlsen beat every single one of them. Keimer and Wei Yi, and who got off to a great start on the Rapid. Norbek Abdusadarov. Okay, previous round, Prague beat Prague, so he's really holding off against the young generation. Kirill Shevchenko and Arjun Erigaisi, who's another player who's set to be in the catbird seat. And then Anish Giri, another old prodigy, so to speak. I'm sure he would laugh at that characterization. So that was his fantastic streak. But let's see what he did to Gukesh Domoraju. And what he did, well, this is more common and rapid, I guess you would say, is the G6 move again. Mm-hmm. So Carlsen is very, very adept at playing this way. So this time black does not play with the bishops first. Black follows Tarrasch and plays with the knights first, but doesn't follow Tarrasch and expands on the queen's wing instead of the center. But players are playing with their H-pawns. And, white does have...
So in this position, as white, I like to play G4 before I play H4, because in the position that we're now seeing, black actually has a favorable version of something that looks like a Soltis variation of the dragon. So it's going to have active play, and white's counterplay is going to be quite limited.
Yeah, that's true, despite the fact that white has what looks like a nice central buildup. So white plays knight h3, and this is an interesting decision. It does accelerate black's queenside play to give up the bishop, and I'm not exactly sure why white captures with the pawn, not the rook. The engine is indifferent between the two moves. But okay, here we go. Capture with the pawn. Now we've got the possibility of f4, f5, and that in fact happens in the game. So Now Carlsen. Now, okay. So this is the one place where. So the other thing about this game is this is how Carlsen is able to survive bombardment. So Gukesh comes through with a bomb.
Oh, he sacks it. Okay, cool.
He sacks it, and if you take it, it's mate. So
yeah,
I mean, it's is it actually force mate? It's just King 6 and F5, and we are crashing through with Bishop G5 check. So
yeah, in blitz, I guess you just sack it and assume that there's something there.
Yeah. Now, what Black should actually do, according to the engine, is take on E5 first, then
Really?
take White's rook so that your king can escape to D7 rather than be stuck on E7. So this is actually considered a mistake, but White still has to come up with moves. And this is a juncture that I prepared to show. It's not so obvious maybe that White should take Black's knight. And the funny thing is that the alternative move is, despite the fact that it looks attractive, is actually sending this back to a loss. So the tactical point here.
So I guess I automatically take the knight. So why do you think that taking the knight isn't? The reason I automatically take the knight is I get this position a lot. And anytime I've got a queen on D2, a bishop on E3, and I've got a chance to take a black knight on C4 with the white square bishop, I do it because I always think that well, I guess it's because of the rook on G6 that you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's what it says. Black would capture the rook, and White would have to expend the tempo going back. But
well, no, that's why my rating isn't as high as it should be.
Yeah, but here's the thing: White may have gotten distracted.
It's that tactical little thing, but here the intuition turns out to be right.
No. Yes. No. The funny thing is, White may have been expecting Black to take on E3, and then we get this brilliant little variation that, first of all, looks like checkmate, but it's not. Okay, so is this checkmate? Mate. Nope, not mate. But okay, certainly is Pac-Man. So I'll eat your rook, you eat my rook. And White may have evaluated this as being good, but partly because Black can do this, it's actually draw at best for White. So anyway, so the game could have fizzled this way. So, however, Carlsen played a better move. Carlsen captured on E5, okay, and now White had to go back and huddle up and defend the pieces that were on prise, which Black took. But now White no longer has any attack unless F5 could reignite it, and White is playing backgammon with the pawns. So Carlsen just munches and plays strong moves, and now White very clearly doesn't have any attack, and it's probably not necessary to say anything more about this game. This is Carlsen simply outfoxed Gukesh Domraju. Eat more pawns, attack with more pawns. Going to, and Gukesh gave up. Okay, so Carlsen on the King of the Hill won his 7th straight tournament, but he was already playing in his 8th straight tournament, moonlighting, so to speak. In the
I guess there were a lot of complaints that those two tournaments were stacked on top of each other.
I think so, and I think there were a couple of forfeits in the maybe Dubai, with someone playing in Dubai in the play-in part of the tournament, I think too. But yeah, there were. Of course, the difference in time zones allowed for it.
I think Rex Zingfield addressed this, and he mentioned that it would be part of the agreement in the future that players who are playing in Grand Chess Tour will not be able simultaneously play in any other tournament.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So yeah, I don't know if it had any adverse effect on the quality of either, but so
I
a
think
little bit.
I think, Ken, it's not the quality, first of all. I think it's a devaluation of the game.
Yeah.
That if you can play in two tournaments, why not in three tournaments at the same time? And it will become just, like a cafe style chess
Yeah.
eventually. I think it's
And
very.
maybe it's different if you play Title Tuesday on a rest day in the candidates, it's a rest day. But when it's a game day,
Yeah.
in any event,
Yeah, I mean, that seems to me to be quite a debatable point. So, and I guess that's why there was a lot of discussion about
yeah. So I don't take part necessarily in those discussions, but sometimes my measurements might be cited. So anyway, the CCT Champions Chess Tour event was played online with this the structure of a play-in, followed by a double elimination format with separate divisions. Also,
I gotta say that I tried 3 or 4 times to understand what was going on there, and I failed.
yeah. I just Mark Crowther keeps them separate, but I just lump everything together. But
Yeah.
for the end game, we can say what happened. So Firouzja lost early on, got knocked down to the losers bracket, which he won, and so that meant. But whereas Carlsen won the original Division One final. Okay, so what that meant was that Firouzja had to defeat Carlsen twice. So Firouzja got a chance to take on Carlsen as the losers bracket against the winner, but a victory over Carlsen merely knocked Carlsen also down to the losers bracket. And then they played for the championship of the losers bracket, which was the championship of the whole thing. So this was the opportunity that Magnus, who at this point was leading the match 2-1, all he needed was a draw to win the first round, and he would have been the completely undefeated champion, in the winner's bracket, defeating the loser's challenger. And Carlsen had a chance to win this game, although for most of the game it was in the hands of Firouzja. So this is the a fateful moment when Carlsen made one move mistake and realized it, and visibly reacted. So certainly they care about these games, and this would have been an 8th tournament win in a row. Okay, so anyway, fairly normal, respectable Slav with white preserving the dark squared bishop and building up slowly in the center. But maybe not. Maybe Firouzja here, it goes a little bit too fast in the center. So this, however, though, okay. So I mean, this is rapid, very fast, rapid chess. 10-minute initial sum with 2-second increment. So quasi blitz downs you by about 375 ELO according to my calculations. And this move does give white too much of initiative in the center. And so anyway, so Carlsen has sacked to piece here, and Firouzja really should just calmly convert this. But already, actually, Firouzja's in fact, the past move was wrong. Yeah, so Firouzja should capture white's other knight in order to avoid the bishop on d4 being pinned. After this move, now white really cannot avoid returning a piece, because between the d file and the e file, bad things are going to happen. Okay, so maybe white's best move to preserve, to at least keep material together, is to is to play this, but black is keeping up an attack in this position. So the engine wants to shed material with b4. But anyway, so the other thing white could have done was just castle, and that's what white did. But now you're giving back the d4 bishop eventually. So here we go, back to the d4 bishop, but white still has a pawn advantage in this endgame. Okay, so, and in fact, Carlsen's play might not have been most exact here. But okay, so we're going to play this endgame. And the thing is that, especially with the nice move, bishop b1, and by the way, Carlsen played another move, bishop b8, in a position with a nice theme. And so we're going to play. So the question is, can black get counterplay with a passed pawn? Wait, there is no passed pawn. How are we going to make a passed pawn? Well, we're going to put a little pressure on the center and make white give you a passed pawn. Okay, we're going to shed an a pawn, but let's see, in blitz, in quasi blitz, rapid chess, especially when white is down to the increment, basically 10 seconds, I think I can calculate better than you. Okay, so so here we go. Position, should be able to calculate better than you. Rook c1 check, king f1, and now here, oh, it's interesting. I thought the engine already showed this as strong for Carlsen. Wow, I'm wrong. I thought I looked over this game somewhere, and it said that Carlsen could have by taking and playing e3. Let's take a look. Yeah, now it does. I'm sorry. So take, and then
So
E3.
he just needs a draw, right? Could he not get a draw just by doubling the rooks?
That's what he thought. So
Okay.
that's probably exactly the mental process that he went to. Yes, this is strong for black. This is winning.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is clearly winning, but I wouldn't have thought to play this.
Yes. So what Carlsen did is what you would have thought to play. Doubling the rooks. Draw, right? Nope. Oh, didn't see the rook coming from the side. This is the moment when Carlsen reacted. And this is now Firouzja takes over.
Yeah, that's that sugar moment.
Right. So now you get e3, but this doesn't work as well with white having an extra pair of rooks on the board. That Carlsen tries to get rid of the rook. So obviously you just have to bang calculate this, but you have to waste the tempo playing rook d2. In fact, the rook d2 so conspicuously doesn't work. White's just going to play king f2. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. So that's the problem. Black's main strategy is just nonsense. So Carlsen tried to get rid of a pair of rooks, but that's several temping down over what he could have had. And Carlsen gave up. So
Wow.
So that set up the final stage match. Okay, well, actually, what it set up was an Armageddon game, which Firouzja duly won. So this is the Armageddon game, and Firouzja's.
So Ken, if you scroll back up, doesn't it give the wrong result on that?
Oh no, you have to look at the color of the clock, the black here. It's a little bit.
Oh gosh,
yeah,
it's because the
a
board
bit
is
strange.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. They keep Magnus Carlsen.
That fooled me. I thought that's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yes. It's a little tricky. So this game actually, was this an eventful game? It actually wasn't. I think something went bad for white early on. Yes, here it is. So I don't know what white was trying to do, but no, I'll play through the game. This is Armageddon. So this is Carlsen as white needing to win in order to win the first go round. Okay, so I guess so. Chop. But black is up at exchange here. So So white is a pawn for it, but what is white really doing? So black's king can't be mated. So maybe here white had a chance. No, it's just equal. So Firouzja knocks back Carlsen's play, and white never actually does regain the exchange. So this is, when you're playing Armageddon and all black needs is a draw, this is already over. These question mark moves merely create different flavor of draw. This is really hopeless for white. I don't think white has enough compensation here. Oh, maybe he does. I know black was preserving a pawn. Okay, this should be drawn, but okay, and then game drawn. Okay, last thing I have teed up though is the decisive game. So under losers bracket rules, it was a shorter match, and so Firouzja is white. I think this is already.
This is also Armageddon, right?
Yeah, they're also Armageddon. I think it's a 10-minute Armageddon game, and I don't know why knight d2 is given a question mark. Curiously enough, this is called the Berlin defense of the bishop's opening. I didn't know there was such a thing. This is a slow build-up for white, which is what you want to do when you create chances. Objectively, black is fine, but black can't trade off a lot of pieces. White's going to have some play. Maybe black, in fact, even has to do something in order to maintain equality, and so black did something, but what should black have done here? Rook d8, I guess. Okay, this is just chess. Bishop e6. It's weird that such a natural move is a mistake, but it meant that white's able to come in on d6, and c4 is following with a pin. So here you go. Now white has this beautiful knight on d6, and the rest actually is just a smush.
Mm-hmm.
Two knights against two bishops, but look at those beautiful knights. So it turns out we only need the two knights. So eventually black will not be able to defend the queen side. And that's it. Firouzja won. Yep.
The power of the bishop's opening.
Yeah, that's right. As just a way to play chess, that's why it is so popular. So Carlsen got toppled from his perch.
So can we say that bishop's move, bishop c4 on second move, eliminates real Berlin defense?
Well, it's supposed to sidestep the Berlin defense to the Rui. Black can still play the Petrov, and maybe it's not so easy to get into a bishop's opening type thing.
Yeah, so the reason I guess that you don't play that in correspondence is because some of the c6 and early d5 variations for black give like instant equality and a game with no life. But over the board, to know all of those lines is just impossible.
Yeah, it's a problem of many open lines. After e4, e5, there is a lot of, if you're trying to get cute and get into some rare lines, oversimplification actually occurs quite often. And it's
so going back to, that's a really good point. Going back to Ken's initial discussion of Kaufman's 0.7 or so, one of those open lines is the Damiano gambit of the Petrov. E4, E5, knight F3, knight F6, knight takes E5, knight takes E4, which for decades was considered to be almost a forced loss for black. And now that's been demonstrated in correspondence chess to be a forced draw with best play.
Really? Okay, let's just play play those moves. So let's see. So this is, so black captures here?
Yeah.
That's right. So queen e2, and then what? Queen e7?
Yeah, but we can't see your board at the moment.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought I was, whoops. Oh, let's see. Wait a second. Let me do it again. Present, share screen. Entire screen. Here we go. Okay. I must have not clicked something. Okay, so now we are here. Now you see it?
No.
Still don't.
Oh,
Anyway, maybe this is a different story for another day, because the main lines start at move 8, and then they
Mhm.
go into the mid-teens, and that's when it all becomes clear. And there have been at this point several dozen Grandmaster Correspondence games where white has a sound pawn, a good position, and there's not a thing that can be done with it with best play by black. So
Very interesting. I'm wondering.
yeah,
if,
it's actually a little bit disappointing.
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm wondering if top grandmasters, including Carlson, if besides studying all the computer games and variations, they studying maybe correspondence chess lines, because they're quite different from what people play over the board. Because
Yeah,
the value of
that's
each move is very.
honestly that's the only excuse for playing correspondence chess these days, is to work out some
Mhm.
of these variations, because any well played correspondence game now at the on ICCF, which is which allows the use of engines by rule, unless the player of one side or another sets up the wrong position, just doesn't really analyze carefully, or chooses a known bad or a known suspicious line, the game is, or these days the rule also says that if someone withdraws or passes away, dies during the game,
Mhm.
that's no longer scored as a draw, that's scored as a win.
Mm.
So those are the only ways now that games between strong players end in something other than a draw. And so you might think, why play at all? And one of the answers is what you were discussing just now, which is to play some of these interesting new lines, and it's actually, I think, more useful for providing new ideas to over the board play. So I agree with that.
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for today's program. It was very, very interesting, and I will have to watch it one more time or maybe more to get really deep into the material which was presented today. And have a great week, and we'll see you next week, same place, same time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank
All
you.
right, take care.
Yep.
Thank you.